to continue to push you while
Yeah,
your emotions pull you.
I really have believed over my journey that our vulnerabilities are our strengths, and it's just about redefining this.
Absolutely, Laura. And this is what we're trying to help everyone understand, because if you don't, then you get caught into that vortex of I have to create a brand based around what what marketing tells us to do and what branding tells us to do, and then you create this fakeness around what it is that you're trying to sell because you're pandering to what you're being told to do, rather than listening to who you are, getting real with your voice, and then delivering it because you're being supported to follow that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Part of what I teach is being able to express your authentic voice in a way that helps you attract the people you're meant to attract. If you're still following everyone else's rules for business, then you're probably miserable, is my guess.
Yep. Yep.
Without a doubt. I
Yeah.
remember I've been doing videos for years. It's one of my greatest passions is to be able to share a message through video. And I remember my voice is so me. And after a while, because of different algorithms changing, I started hearing you should really start doing this in your videos and be sure that you say
Mm-hmm.
that and start with that. And I remember just trying it, and it's so not feeling like myself. And the moment that I released that and went back to who I was, it was like, there she is. I'm breathing again. And then my views went back to just being their normal selves, and increasing in the ways that they were supposed to. And I think that's so important, is to not follow what everybody else is saying and really tune in and be in touch with what feels right to you and who you know you are.
Yeah, this is the new revolution of business, I believe, because there are a lot of us who have been taught the opposite. So we're unlearning right now,
Right.
and we're exploring this new thing, and it feels scary, and you're not totally sure all the time if that's the right way to go. And it's really about listening to your intuition and developing an ability to understand that language inside your body. I know that it's a lifelong practice for me.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Absolutely.
what do you gals mean when you say don't fear your vision? I love this.
Oh boy, that's a good one. um, some people are so scared. For instance, when you have an idea and you're excited about it, and then you take it to, oh, well, oh crap, like how am I going to make this happen? Or what if I don't get busy? What if I get too busy? And you start overthinking things instead of just going with it. And this is a conversation that Sherry and I actually often have because I'm like, just don't worry about it. Let's just put it out there and see what happens. And there's just no other way than to just test stuff out. And you have to be willing and open to your vision and what you see at the end of the tunnel, and trying different ways to get there. Because if you hop on a bike and the bike doesn't get you there, get in a car. If the car doesn't get you there, get on a train, take the train to where you need to be. It's like, just don't fear your vision. Just look at it, take a deep breath in, exhale, and just go for it. Go for it by any means possible, and do what you need to do. Because if you fear it, then you're going to be slipping into those crevasses of, oh my gosh, I need to do this, or I need to do that, or I need to be like so and so, or I need to, be wearing this outfit. And I have need to show up in a blazer and in a suit to be taken professionally. So you're going to start pandering to the different false beliefs that are out there, and developing a false persona of who you are to get to your vision, which you're never going to get there because you're falling into these pitfalls along the way. So don't fear your vision. Just keep going and moving towards it in the ways that it feels right, it feels authentic to you.
And if I could just piggyback off that, I'd love to say that, or I'm going to say that another thing with not hearing your vision is don't care. Do not care what anybody else thinks about your vision. Nobody else has to understand what it is that you want or you believe. I mean, from a young child, I was like, I'm going to have my own show and I'm going to do all of these things. And people did not understand it and people question it. And it was what I knew inside. And of course, as I've grown older, things have changed. But if I listened to every single person that ever thought that, my head was in the clouds or how are you going to do that, then I wouldn't have continued to be where I am right now and continue to create what I create. So do not listen to anybody else. Believe in your own vision and allow it to just take shape.
And of course, that's probably one of the hardest things to do, right? Is
Right.
to just not care, just not caring about what anyone else is saying or thinking or, saying about what I'm doing. Boy, oh boy, it's a hard thing to move through. If you gals could remember back to a time where you were still letting fear get you stuck, you're possibly still letting fear, make you feel paralyzed. I know it's probably a long time ago at this point, but what would be your biggest tip for the listeners? What would be one biggest tip for the listeners to try to move through that fear and take the action? I know the action is the magic, but sometimes it's getting ourselves unstuck and actually moving that's the hardest part.
I honestly think that if you have the focus on what actions to take, like physically or, like really do, I think that surrounding yourself with people that support you is one of my biggest tips, because I think, again, on the emotional level, when you have support there, you can conquer anything.
I totally agree with you. I think also we're used to possibly having family members or friends or people who've really known us the longest sometimes are not the people who are supporting the new dreams. You're laughing. Have you experienced
Sherry.
that?
Yeah, Sherry, what was my story just from this past week?
I'm not going to share your personal story, but it is about family members.
My father, which I talk often about, the interesting relationship I have with my father. I was actually showing him the Wellness Universe, and funny enough, I'm showing him the Wellness Universe, and we've been doing this since 2014, right? So 2015 was the launch of the very first version. So I've been telling him about this all these years, and he's not a computer guy. He's in his 70s. He just doesn't do technology, but he hears about it. And I shared articles that I've written, magazine covers that I've been on, art, a bunch of stuff. So finally it clicked. This past weekend, while I was down on my family vacation with them, I'm showing my brother-in-law's mom the site because she's really into healing and Reiki and spirituality. And I was like, oh my gosh, you love our blog. Oh my gosh. So I was showing her, and my father's kind of eavesdropping in. And he's like really interested in what I'm showing her. And then he's like, so who's in charge of all this? I was like dumbfounded. I'm like, are you kidding me, Dad? I'm like, it's the Wellness Universe. So like Sherry and me.
Oh my gosh.
Mind blowing, Laura.
Yes, it is, isn't it? I mean, yeah, and that happens a lot. I don't even know what to say about it. I have similar stories. Well, and the women that we are now we're different than who we were back then.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's like teaching your closest people who you are now, and that's not an easy thing all the time.
Well, it's easy for our families and people, our long-term friendships, to box us in because it makes them comfortable for us to be in a certain space. Because as we grow, what ends up happening is that it puts other people in an uncomfortable zone because perhaps they're not there yet, or then they have to look at things themselves. So that's really where I think all that stems from. I'd love to say something about fear, though.
Yes.
Because you said that we probably don't feel that or haven't gotten stuck in a long time. And I just want to say that's very untrue. Very untrue. I don't think, no matter how much work you've done spiritually, I think everybody feels fear. I think fear is a natural thing. And it's really just about navigating that fear and being able to feel it and move through it and not get stuck in it, which of course is the more challenging part. But I think everybody needs to know that there's none of us that are superhuman. And I felt it yesterday. And for me, the number one thing that I've learned about fear is that my biggest tip is I always look at things, I don't wait for hindsight. I look at anything that I've ever gone through that I've been super fearful of. I've seen that I've gotten out the other side of it. I've seen that I've been better off because of it. And so when I face these challenges or these things that scare the hell out of me, I take a breath and I remember what I've done and where I'm standing right now. And that's my advice for everybody is look at where you are and who you are and know that you will get through it.
Yeah, remember your vision, allow your actions to align with that big vision. And remember, I'm about to, funny enough, I'm about to go teach a class tonight called Writing the Thing You're Afraid to Write.
Mm.
And, I start that class off tonight with fear is a feeling. That's all it
Yep.
is. And another one from my breath worker, fear is just excitement without the breath. And so when you start to redefine fear as a feeling and something you can move through, it does become a game changer. And you're right, we're all feeling fear all the time. It's just a matter of what we're doing about it.
Right. You can feel it, you can have a cup of tea with it, but you don't, have to pitch a tent and friggin' live with it.
Right.
You know?
And, I had a little question pop up via text just now for us. And the listener wants to know, how do you know when it's fear talking versus your intuition talking? That's a really great question. I know how I would answer it, but how about you gals?
I just got goosebumps with you asking. That's such a good question.
Yeah.
And I think that if fear makes you feel yucky, there's something about a fear-based thought or an inspiration from fear that makes you feel yucky. And if it's more like intuition, you feel like it's advice coming to you and you better listen to it. And I think sometimes if you sit with it, fear comes on like strong. And sometimes it'll cause like anxiety or cause depression or cause you to have false thoughts and then start judging things. And I think that if it's more like intuition, you'll be prompted or prodded to investigate, to get to the bottom of something, to get a good, clear decision. I kind of, that's just the answer that I'm getting intuitively to that's how I would decipher the difference.
I love that. For me, it's teaching people how to feel the difference in their body between those two things that you just described. And you're yucky. Like we can even help people understand that could be anything from a little chest tightness to feeling a little choky in your throat to having that bad feeling in your gut to even feeling a little nauseous. Like these things have physical feelings that we can learn to recognize. And you're so right. An inspirational type, not inspirational, intuitional type of feeling has really the opposite kind of feeling in the body. It's a little lighter, it's excited, it's free, it's flowing, it's on the happy side of things. It's not yucky,
Absolutely. I was going to say my intuition for me, when I know and I'm sure of it, it is a peace that sits within. It's just this, oh, okay, I gotcha. And when it's fear, immediately I'm the same thing with the physical feelings. My chest tightens, my breathing gets more labored. My mind goes into overdrive and starts thinking about, well, what about if I do that? Is that going to happen? And then if that, and I begin like the mind chatter. And for me, that's like, all right, you're freaking out. That's fear. And the other one's just like, hey, here I am. I'm all right. And it's just an easier breathing.
I love it. Fear is like this chaotic thing and intuition is a calm. And so that's one way, that's a really great way to know the difference. And that's, fear is a topic that gets talked about a lot. I think we do try to overthink it sometimes. Like we put meaning on the fear, which is basically just adding baggage to your baggage that you already have. So it's good to feel clear about it as a message from your body. And when you start to get good at it, it can really change things. I love listening to you gals about that because you're giving me some ideas for my class tonight. Thanks.
Great.
Awesome. I love it.
So let's chat a little bit about why we need more women leaders in this world. This is a hot topic.
This is a hot topic.
Well,
Jared,